In general, the energy is light. So right now, I just pressed, reels, and I'm watching purely by the fire. The energy is light, really light, ethereal, charged, high in vibrations. Yes, it's all a bit of ether with a slight touch of astral. I would say more of an etheric layer.
You're talking about these glimmers, right?
Yes. So I stop each of them in turn.
Explain what you mean. Are you saying that these are not camera flares? Not Photoshop, but something truly energy rich?
Not all of them. Some of them. The third one where it's like this. I'll show everyone on camera now.
So you want to say this is not a glare?
No, there's a charge.
All right. What is it then? Go on.
In general, in esotericism, this is usually called an effective flare. That is when the etheric field, etheric layer, yes, it starts to flare up for some reasons and for various reasons. That is, again, the etheric plane is usually not visible, but here it becomes, as it were, it comes to the surface. That is, as if into the physical. Exactly. And this can be due to various reasons. It can be, by the way, due to purely atmospheric reasons. It can be due to reasons related to some anomalies of this place. That is, if the place is generally anomalous, well, as if it has some fractures, faults in the Earth's crust, and so on, all this affects, well, like an energy volcano, such an energy volcano, they start to erupt from there like this.
So is it just, roughly speaking, the energy of the place being released, or is it a self-aware, as it is written there, angel?
I will tell you exactly. There is a bit of energy from elementals. That is, for those in the know, these are certain spirits of the elements, spirits of the locality, but they always participate in such processes. Guys, look, now I'm addressing the viewers. When you have self-aware energy, especially from such a powerful being as an angel, it will resonate. Well, that is, if you take 3 cards and draw a line on one of them, a standard exercise for extrasensory perception and telekinesis, by the way. When you do this, the most difficult part is to catch any energy coming from the cards. Why is that? Because the card itself contains extremely weak energy. If we place, for example, a person next to the cards, human energy will resonate much more strongly, making it easier for most to read a person. And an angel? Well, it's like, in general, an energetic structure that is entirely woven from energy. It doesn't just emit energy, it should, as they say, hit you right in the face with this energy. Exactly. That's not the case here. This is energy. I mean, I feel, well, a surge of energy. It's quite charged, a surge of energy. It's a bit electrified. Electrification always accompanies the process. Yes, the process during which the surge occurs. All these effects are not angels in the classical sense. They are a certain disturbance of the etheric astral layer of the planet, but more etheric, which is essentially commensurate with the idea of these very Schumann resonances. There is, I remember, a separate research institute that studies and directly records these very Schumann resonances. You can track it online. You can call it Schumann resonances, or you can call it something else. Yes. So this is more of a question for those, for the physicists, the electrophysicists, who are specifically involved in measuring these vibrational components. Whether it rises or not, that's a question for them. As an esoteric, I will answer that yes, the energetic background is indeed rising, and it doesn't matter what we call this background. That's the truth. These manifestations, these flashes, including in the etheric layer, in the etheric layers, are rather like a layered cake. This is also one of the accompanying factors of the rise in vibrations. Because the rise in vibrations, as we have said many times, is definitely an engineered solution. It doesn't just randomly rise on its own by someone. No, they are raised by certain forces. And this is done using specific technical methods, right? And such kinds of emissions, tensions in certain areas of the planet are absolutely normal phenomena of any energetic restructuring. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a bit of an inelegant analogy, but when a person starts their car that has been sitting for a long time, it sputters, coughs, and from the exhaust pipes come all sorts of smoke, steam, and so on. Well, it's the same thing here. When the vibrational layers of the planet are raised and overall energy intensifies, these emissions can occur, especially in places that are, as they say, the planet's exhaust system if compared to cars. Most often, these are the so-called energetically active zones. That is, there are actually a lot of them in Russia, especially in Siberia, in the area of the Ural Mountains. In these places, it's simply easier to release tension and pump in new energy, the so-called anomalous zones. By the way, if anyone is interested in learning more about anomalous zones, give a like. If there are a lot of these marks, yes, we might make a separate episode specifically about anomalous zones. We can even, for the sake of interest, visit different or anomalous zones. For example, at one time, we looked in great detail at the so-called Votovara. This is in Karelia. It's a very specific place. We looked at the Sunduki, or in Khakassia, yes, and a few other similar places. If you're interested, let us know. There is already a lot of data on these topics.
And write which specific places
Yes.
interest you, and we'll take a look. I think you've heard that many people actually live according to these, let's say, Schumann frequencies. There are people who post some charts every day showing that today there's some kind of load, tomorrow an offload, and so on. And there are people who are very sensitive to these fluctuations. Some get headaches, others experience something else. And I want you to connect with the higher self. And no, we can discuss how much this actually takes place. Or are they just conditionally weather-sensitive people, right? Or do people attribute their traumas, their quirks to it as usual, to everything? So where, to draw the line, where is it really some kind of Schumann resonance, right? How do these vibrations or the background rise, no matter what you call it, right? So where is it really the case? And where is it just that everything has been mixed together, as usual, under one umbrella? And yesterday you ate something wrong. Oh, it's my Schumann resonance rising, right? So where is this boundary? And how much should people really pay attention to it? Should they somehow give it importance and align their lives, their rhythms according to it?
To begin with, I just slightly touch upon the energy of planet Earth. Its, so to speak, background, basic energy level. I would describe it like this. Actually, at first, I wanted to describe it as the sea, but it's not the sea. If it is a sea, then it's some kind of tilted sea at a certain angle. That is, we truly see growth. The growth is absolutely certain.
So what are these flashes?
There are flashes. Because again, it's not a smooth rise upwards, but rather like this. Up, then a little down, up again, a little down again, like peaks on an electrocardiogram. I confirm that. Yes, it's true. It exists. There you go.
What is the nature of these flashes? I understand that the vibrations are rising. You always talk about this. So what exactly is the nature of these flashes?
Right.
Yes. Who creates these flashes? Or do they occur naturally on their own?
It's a consequence. That is, I don't see anyone. This is 100%. I don't see anyone who would be sitting and pressing a button like impulse, 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 impulse. I definitely don't see that.
So we rule out any civilizations sending us some kind of light streams.
Not exactly. They can send light streams, but these flashes don't work like that, where a light stream comes down to you and immediately a flash occurs. No, look. Any planet is a living mechanism, and you can nourish it like, I don't know, like a plant or like a cat, like a dog. You can nourish it with different kinds of food. Perhaps there are incorrect comparisons this evening. But again, yes, a cat won't go to the bathroom immediately after eating this food. I mean, if it goes to the bathroom immediately, then it's a cat with indigestion.
Unclear.
Yes. So these peaks are like certain flashes, certain bursts of energy upwards. By the way, I feel there are also reverse flashes when the flash goes not upwards but downwards. I mean, conditionally speaking, it can be a sharp surge of energy upwards or conversely, a sharp drop downwards. And it doesn't have to be across the entire planet. It can be in certain areas, especially those close to an anomalous zone. To anomalous zones in general, right? Because some people, those who visit anomalous zones, say that they experience either a surge of energy or conversely, a drain. This is exactly what we can call a surge upwards, or conditionally, a drop in energy downwards. By the way, we have a house in the Moscow region, and there's a real anomalous zone. There, on all the maps of ufologists and other enthusiasts, they describe these surrounding forests as anomalous zones, as lost places. People have seen some inexplicable things there, wandering for hours, and suddenly ending up in what seemed like old 18th century villages. So it's really an anomalous place. And there, I personally felt it, especially in childhood. On some days, the energy is just flowing, it's bright and fresh. But on other days, you feel like hanging yourself. It's really like the same forest, but on some days, it feels like it's watching you. It looks a bit creepy. And everyone feels it, even those who usually don't sense anything. And sometimes, on the contrary, the energy there is so elevated, so high. When energy is being loaded, the flash doesn't happen immediately. The energy load constantly comes here from various sources, including forces and the so-called curators, which we've talked about many times, and all sorts of alien civilizations as well, right? Some other instances as well. That is, a large number of souls participate in the energy exchange of planet Earth, each of which works, as they say, at their own job. You know, it's like work. So it's like, I don't know, a big project. There are brand managers, there are PR managers. It's the same here. Any planet is a big, big energy project. There are many different processes, and among them is very diverse logistics for delivering energy to this very object, right? And these emissions are simply a consequence of the operation of this mechanism to increase vibrations. Well, it's like a car moving forward, emitting exhaust gases, right? Again, yes, these are not entirely interconnected things. One naturally follows from the other, but it's not a direct correlation. That is, yes, it's a slightly indirect relationship between the energy infusion into planets and these flares. And the flares are more precisely a consequence of the process of increasing vibrations. Sometimes they can coincide with some strong infusions. Yes, they can coincide, but sometimes they don't. This is not always 100%, sometimes not. Sometimes, conditionally, the infusion happened a month ago, right? And then all month, these flares continue, and continue. As a consequence, yes, as a consequence again, of this upward movement on the energy wave.
So, why then are these vibrations generally increasing?
The vibrations are increasing because there is currently a trend set for rising. That's the game right now.
I remember.
Vibrations are going up because starting from the Renaissance, everything surged upwards sharply, because that's the path now. So again, look, any planet is like, once more, like some kind of engineering project. A new leader comes in and says, guys, let's change this project, and now we'll play in slightly different markets under different conditions. And the souls that resonate with this say, interesting. Okay, we will stay in this project. Those who are not interested leave. So at a certain stage, our planet sharply went down. In the late Atlantis period, this very collapse began. So at that time, as they say, the forces, the curators, decided to do it this way. Many souls left from here. I just remember a number of my past lives, as they say, yes, don't take it as schizophrenia. I think that here on this channel, everyone is already used to it. I remember clearly, in detail, a number of past lives, specifically in Atlantis, and many were leaving then.
From this server in general?
From this server, yes, from this server.
By what means? Did they leave?
By means of their own desire.
How so? How do you see it? Did a person die and not reincarnate anymore?
No longer came here because, so to speak, the higher self, well, was kind of removed from this server and transferred to some other server, to that planet, to that world, to that dimension that was more suitable for those souls. Many souls, these so-called bright, pure ones, they were leaving then and really went to completely different planets. Therefore, many of them, the indigo children and crystal children, yes, these are precisely the souls that were in Atlantis. Now they are coming back again. By the way, many of them are a bit horrified. I see many guys who, including those who come to my school for the higher self, they say that they don't feel at home here. It's complete darkness and screams here, right? Because, well, how can one live like this? This, by the way, is the main sign that the soul has more often transitioned to some other worlds. But here it ended up here. But it's also important to emphasize that if you've already come here, as they say, it might be a bit unusual for you, but from the level of the higher self, there was a reason to come here specifically. That's it. There was a specific plan for why you are needed here on this planet. Almost all these souls come for a specific mission. That is to be needed here for this great transition. This is a bit off our topic today, but it's a very important part because it's genuinely important to many, and many ask me about it.
Let's say more about it.
Do it.
About the Schumann resonance. Yes, these downloads, flashes, I mean, many very sensitive people, potentially, even those you just mentioned.
Yes.
And for some, the body reacts. For others, certain events happen in their lives, like insights and so on. Is it worth monitoring these flashes at all? Should we pay attention to them?
Look, again, regarding the flashes, right? Just before we started filming, I went to the Tomsk University website, and according to the Tomsk University website, there is still this main line with light flashes. These light flashes occur almost every day according to the schedule. So this field is still a little agitated, and to sit and monitor it, for example, on this site, yes. On the scientists' website specifically, well, I wouldn't do it. In general, again, I've said this many times, I'm not a fan of terms and not a fan of certain systems, especially those that require constant monitoring, because you can end up with a neurosis that way. That is, if you are constantly monitoring like, oh, it seems like something flared up on the chart. And then some esoteric person said that so many hertz have piled up today.
Mercury is retrograde, right?
And Mercury is also retrograde. And so Mercury is pressing on us and these hertz are piling up, right? And some kind of fault lines. And in general, Cryon said it's the most unfavorable month. And you sit there and that's it. You already feel terribly bad, terrible, just terrible from all sides. Although before this, in principle, everything was more or less fine. Therefore, and I am speaking here purely as a practitioner. If you really want to feel and understand all these processes, learn to sense them on your own. Specifically for you, at this stage, whether the flows that are coming are harmonious or not, and in general, they are coming. Or as they say, it's a bit of a fabrication because flows, well, small ones are constantly being uploaded, but the large wave-like ones come about once every 2 to 3 months, and they don't necessarily feel terrible or anything like that, or like a headache or something else. Very often, especially in light of the increase in vibrations, it is, on the contrary, quite pure energy. Yes, of course, it can hit the head. A little, as they say, for those who have certain karmic issues, and so on. That is, it raises a bit of this dirt. But again, try to learn to feel it, to feel independently, through the higher self, for example. This is a very good method. In our blog, there will be links somewhere under the video. We often describe exactly these main flashes, the main energies that are being downloaded. We also write about this among other things. Therefore, you can track it through our blog, but still, first and foremost, learn to feel independently and then you will free yourself from false neurosis. 1. 2. You will perceive it more calmly, more clearly, more distinctly on your own, right? Additionally, each wave carries again a slightly different message. Sometimes it can be such a fresh, pure message that you can do a lot of harmonious things with it. And sometimes it's the opposite, kind of, right? As far as I understand this process, they often play on certain contradictions. That is, they kind of send one energy at the beginning, it passes, and then this mechanism still rolls back a little, like a ship that has risen on the waves and then falls down again, right? So during this downward fall, you can also feel this wave and also kind of play it to your own, yes, your own interests. By the way, regarding retrograde Mercury, which we talked about, I wouldn't be so categorical here either because, again, all people are different. The energies of retrograde Mercury also, as they say, vary a little from each Mercury to Mercury, from year to year. People's architecture is different. For example, during retrograde Mercury, I like to launch krautrock groups. I mean, my groups, which are launched during retrograde Mercury, just perform better. First and foremost, learn to feel it yourself, right? Don't look at charts, some smart words, formulas, or anything else. Perceive it as a background, but just as a kind of additional information for reflection. And always, always define everything by yourself. Define any energy by yourself. And then you will be able to fully use all energies for good that come to our planet. And for this, among other things, there is the Higher Self School. There are discounted groups. There are individual courses and so on. All links are under this video. Please come. It will be interesting. Just as we are launching in July, a new discounted group, one of the largest, by the way, in the school over the last 12 years. So if you want, as they say, to become part of this community of people who are learning to truly feel it independently, or rather than relying on charts, be diagrams, or a blogger's words, then you are welcome. I will be waiting for you.
Dear friends, I invite you all to my course with a personal vision, Return to the True Self. This course has been around for over 12 years. And recently we launched it in English with my complete personal vision in 6 modules, working with blocks, working with egregores, working with the ego, contacting the higher self. Answers to simple questions, answers to more complex questions, and then there's what we call the Great Journey. It's contact with space, contact with the planet, contact with God, contact with anything at your request through the higher self. Health, finances, relationships, purpose, past life. The course is available at any time. You can sign up for it using the link below this video. Come on over, I'll be waiting for you.